but you had 3 jobs, knew nothing about real estate, right? Quit the jobs, go into like real estate and mindset coaching and a podcast, like kind of just bet on yourself. You jumped and you grew your wings on the way down.
100%. The wings did not come out immediately. I recognize as a business owner, I have to be a numbers guy. And numbers are interesting when they're relevant.
So your mindset impacts how you feel impacts what you do impacts how you live.
It's crazy how much information and knowledge we just start to absorb, and it becomes so second nature.
Because I only invest in things that I know and understand.
And I see that it's going to come with stress. I see that it's going to come with a different workload. It's going to come with a different level of sacrifice. Do I want it? If I do, then let's go make it happen.
This is the Mr. Burr Show.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Today on the show, I've got someone who I've grown very fond of. He's in real estate. He's in the sub 2 game. Everyone knows Pace Morby, right? Sub 2. This guy does a ton of sub 2, creative finance. What I love most about him, though, is his mindset. I'm a firm believer that wealth is a mindset. You've heard it before, but the man I have on has built his business around that, having the right mindset, having the right people around you, building them up with your mindset. So we're going to get into mindset. We're going to get into creative finance. You guys are going to get a ton of value. When you do, share the episode, pay it forward so we can all grow together. So I'm excited to introduce to you guys. You might know him, but if you don't, Marlon Johnson. Welcome to the show, man.
Yo, what's going on, Devin? I'm excited to be here, bro.
Absolutely, dude. I'm excited to have you on. Man, we go back to like 2020, like one of your first podcast episodes.
Yep. Early episodes had you on the Into the Mind. That's where I got introduced to you through Tino. And Tino was just like, dude, you got to talk to this guy. You got to meet him. You and I get on, we record that podcast episode. And after the episode, I think we spent like another hour just like chopping it up. And I'm like, yo, this dude is dialed in.
Yeah, dude. We started talking about, what's his name? Proctor?
Yep. Bob Proctor.
Bob Proctor. Like, I've geeked out on his stuff for so long, and you have as well. And then we started talking about David Goggins and like his mindset. And then we're going down all these like little rabbit holes together. So I'm excited. I actually rewatched that recently.
Get out of here.
It's so funny, dude, because that was back when my office was my laundry room.
I was about to say, it looked like you were like in your house.
Bro, it was my laundry room where like I had a sink and I like set up I set up my laptop on 2 shoe boxes. So it was like a little higher. So it was like, and then it was just the Zoom call. And then behind me was the wall. I had like washing machine dryer over here. And then I just had like a whiteboard to make it look like an office.
Yep.
But dude, you got to start somewhere, right?
That's it, man. And like, it's funny because you describing your desk, I'm like, oh, so we had the same stand-up desk. Because like I was doing the same thing. I was taking my shoe boxes, propping the laptop up. And that's just what you do. And you start with where you're at. And sometimes we think we need everything, all the resources. Like, no, we just need resourcefulness. And it's really just like that belief in ourselves to keep going and to push through just wherever it is we start at. So I think that's probably why we resonated so much in the beginning. It was like I had a feeling with you. It was like, okay, like we're cut from the same cloth. We're in different parts of our journey, but ultimately we're at the same make.
We were around the same part in the journey, though. I was new, man. I was new. It was, I think I'd only done maybe 7 or 8 real estate deals that time. So I was new. You were new.
Yep.
We're just growing together.
Absolutely.
You know? But let's not get too much into mindset yet. Let's talk about creative finance. So tell me how you got into subject to creative finance, how that all went.
Yeah, so when I got into the real estate game, this is October of 2019. I'm living at home with my mom and my sister back in New York. I'm learning about wholesaling for the first time, learning about buying deals, buying property. And in the New York market, I was having a real tough go at it. So somebody planted the seed that I should go into a virtual market. So I started up in the Midwest. And as I'm working through this deal, I came across a property with a homeowner where, unfortunately, the cash offer that would make sense for us as investors wasn't making sense for him because he still would have owed money to sell us the property. Mm-hmm. So I had joined into a real estate mentorship that specialized in creative financing. It was the subject to mentorship with Pace Morby. And he was the one that suggested, hey, you know, instead of buying it cash, you can actually just take over his mortgage payments. Now, this was mind-blowing to me because I'm like, dude, I'm a kid living at home. I'm standing here in my pajamas. Like, I've never owned a property. I don't have a job right now. I'm unemployed. Why would somebody let me take over their mortgage?
Yeah.
And he explained that when you're solving a person's problem and they're in enough pain, they'd be open to doing that. So my very first real estate deal actually ended up being a subject to property where we took over the existing mortgage for the homeowner. His name was Lorenzo Games. And
Shout out Lorenzo.
shout out to Lorenzo. Yeah, funny enough, I'm still in contact with him. Great
Nice,
guy.
nice.
And he trusted me enough because it wasn't really about the property. It was more about solving his problem, which was he had inherited this home from his mom. And when she had passed away, he felt that he couldn't sell the property right away because he didn't want to get rid of mom's inheritance. So he held on to the property and became an accidental landlord. And he had put his buddy in the property because his buddy was a handyman. And the conversation was, listen, I'll give you a good rate on rent as long as you just help me fix things up around the house. Well, when the pandemic went on, his buddy stopped getting paid from his other jobs. The buddy stops answering Lorenzo's calls. And now Lorenzo's in the situation where he's paying his own personal mortgage. He's now having to pay mortgages on his mother's house. And also, get this, he had a third property that was his other home that when he started dating a girl, she said, we should get a house together. That's how he was in his current house. So the house he was living in previous to the relationship, he was also renting out, but during the pandemic, she dipped out. The tenant dipped out on the house. So this guy was paying 3 mortgages out of his paycheck, and he was a postal worker. He wasn't making big bucks.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a hardworking guy. In fact, he's working the night shift, which is crazy. So he's going into work around 7, 8 p.m., getting off work around 5 and 6 a.m. And so when he's coming home at 7, 8 a.m. in the morning, he's getting ready to lay down to sleep. What's happening to his house phone? It's blowing up. All the wholesalers are starting to call him about his property.
Zero sleep.
So he's getting 0 sleep. I made a mistake one day and accidentally, because I'm in New York, he's in the Midwest, he's an hour behind me. I start making my calls at 8 a.m. I call him first.
He's
So it's
pissed.
7 a.m. for him. He's pissed, but not as pissed because it's still close enough to like he's winding down. So he's
okay.
not quite asleep yet. And that's when he starts letting me in on the problem, lets me in on the situation. And we were able to work out a deal there. But ultimately with the property that had the mortgage, what I was able to do was just very much understand what the payments on the property were. For us, what we ended up doing a burr on it, funny enough. But, right, I know you love burrs.
The Burr
Right?
method.
What we ended up doing was doing a burr on it, but instead of having to go out and originate like a private money loan, we were able to simply just take over the mortgage in place for about $45,000 on that particular property. The payments were, I think it was around like 600 or 700 bucks. I forget the exact amount. It was a few years
So
back.
45 grand was like the down payment to him.
45 grand. That's the thing. There was no down payment to him. So this was a pure subject to. It wasn't a hybrid deal. He owed a $45,000 mortgage. This is a property up in the Midwest. We would have had to buy the property cash at $35,000. So he would have had to come out of pocket about 10 grand for a
Okay.
cash offer. That would have
it.
made sense. On the back end, the property was worth close to 180, almost $190,000. So we were getting
After it was
inside
fixed
there-
up.
After it was fixed up. So we still had to get inside there, do some work, do some renovations. So we ended up getting in there, doing the work, doing the reno. By the time we actually went to refi, the property had appraised even higher, closer to 210. So there was just more money on the back end. But this was the power of sub 2, is being able to get into that deal without overspending on what it would have needed between the cost of renovation, the cost of purchase, the cost of holding costs, things of that nature.
Got it.
So it worked out super well for him. It actually allowed us to continue to build his credit too, because as we were making those payments, the mortgage stayed in his name, although the title transferred to us. So every month when we made the mortgage payments, his credit was gaining the benefit of having these continuous timely payments made every single month. So what a lot of people don't understand is when we do this, it's not a one and done kind of transaction. I let him know that, like, hey, Lorenzo, if we go this route, essentially you and I are going to be in a long-term relationship. We're almost becoming business partners to a degree because you're trusting me to make the payments on your behalf every single month. So that's why our line of communication stayed open. And even though now that deal is completely over, we refinanced him with a new loan, he and I are still in contact just because we built up that relationship.
So that's where the Burr part of it came in, refinancing him out after the fact?
Yep, we refinanced him out about 9 months or so later.
Got it. And there was no mortgage on it to start with?
There was his original mortgage on it to start with it.
Got it. What was the rate on it?
The rate on his was a 4.75 on that property.
Got it. Okay. So a couple things, guys. Sub 2, everyone hears that. Some people don't know what it even means.
Mm-hmm.
It's subject to the existing mortgage staying in place.
Correct.
Right? So like, think about right now. I love the method if I was doing real estate more prominently. It's just right now I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
The Burr method makes a lot of sense, but not in this market. Because why would you refinance out of like a 2.99% interest rate, a 2.75? You know what I mean?
Yep.
With sub 2, you're keeping that in place. And then you just have terms on the back end that make it advantageous for you as the investor and the seller of the house because you're solving a problem at all times. Right?
Exactly. Like, so the house that you came by the other day, right? Like the Mindset Manor that we have over in Gilbert.
Yeah.
That's a prime example of a property that we wouldn't want to refi. Because right now, that's a property that we purchased for a little over $1 million.
VA loan, right?
A VA loan.
Yeah.
Now, normally, I stay away from properties at that price point, especially for anything that's going to be held as a long-term portfolio, because typically at that price point, the property is not going to cash flow. When I'm looking at a creative purchase or a creative acquisition, what I'm really most concerned about is my monthly payments. What's the affordability and the cost of owning the property? Because mainly my strategy is how can I cash flow the property. So I'm not as concerned about what's the ARV. I still am to a degree because I like equity. However, the most important, the first priority becomes, can this property put money in my pocket every single month if I add it to my portfolio? So when that property came across our desk, the first most attractive thing about it wasn't even the house, and it's a beautiful house. It was the interest rate. It was a 2.75% interest rate, fixed.
VA
loan. I'm like, we're never going to see interest rates that low again. Like, interest rates being that low on mortgages was an accident, in my opinion. Like, I don't think...
It'll never make sense to refinance that.
It won't.
Ever.
So I want to hold on to that mortgage forever because, to me, that's free money.
Right.
Right. I'm going to ride that thing down for 30 years if, the good Lord lets me. And so when we got that property, what happened was that particular home, the homeowners were in pre-foreclosure. They had purchased the property. They had made the first payment. And then unfortunately, due to life circumstance, the husband had lost his job. So he had a high six-figure job. They had let him go temporarily. And so they were no longer able to make the monthly payments. So by the time we had a conversation with them, they were already about $50,000 in arrears. So they were $50,000 behind on their payments. And this could be scary because now we're talking about if they get foreclosed on and the bank comes back, and takes the property from them. Not only is that going to affect the credit, but for a veteran, it actually affects their capacity to go and use another VA loan in the future. They lose the entitlement. And so that's a big loss. When we came in and we had the conversation...
Real quick, why is it a big loss?
Well, it's a big loss because with a VA loan, with that entitlement, you could get into a property for 0% down, which is just unheard of. You're talking about basically just...
I was hoping you knew that.
Yeah, it's like I could just go buy a house, and I don't need to come up with it, or very, very
only if
minimal.
it's a primary residence, right?
It has to be a primary residence. So the intentionality is you're going to live in it as a primary residence. They will allow you to do essentially 0% down payment. They will give you 100% financing, which is crazy.
Couple things, guys. I think putting money down on a house is the dumbest thing you can do. Like, you have to put money down on a traditional mortgage, FHA 3.5, conventional as low as 5 on a primary residence. It's stupid because you're trapping money in the mortgage that you cannot use unless you refinance. And if you have a 2.75, why would you refinance, right? So all it serves you is getting a lower payment. Mm-hmm. That's it. But because it's spread out over 30 years or 15, I think 15s are stupid. Do a 30. If they had a 50-year mortgage, I'd do it.
Same here.
But it's spread out over 30 years. So even let's say you put down an extra $100,000, it doesn't change your payment a ton. We're talking maybe a couple $100, right?
Yep.
So put as little down as you can, have that capital so you can deploy it to go make more than what your payment savings was going to be. That's why VA is so good that you can put zero down, and losing that entitlement. I'm so glad you knew that was big.
You know what? It's a powerful tool, and unfortunately, no one ever really sits down and breaks the numbers down to us. And they forget about. I'm a fan of Robert Kiyosaki. You know, my very first mentor was a Kiyosaki guy. I picked up the Purple Library, and he always reminded me the difference between assets and liabilities.
Yes.
And an asset being so simple that it's something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. And when I'm looking at purchasing a property, typically, if I'm doing it traditionally and I'm not raising money, I'm using my own money, that down payment technically to me is a liability because it's taking money out of my pocket. But that mortgage, if it's an investment property, my tenants are making those monthly payments. And the overflow of cash that I get, that cash flow, goes into my pocket. So technically that mortgage to me that's attached to the house is an asset. So if that's the case, I have to always look at when people are like, well, if I reduce the monthly payments, it's like, yeah, but you're not paying it.
Right.
Your tenants are paying it.
Right.
That's the thing.
So as long as you know you can rent the house for X and the mortgage is Y and it's lower, it makes sense.
It makes sense every day of the week. And then I can take my down payment, and instead of using it to buy, you know, let's say people are going out and let's use simple math. The property is $100,000. They want to put 20% down. That's $20,000. And let's say they had $100,000. Right? Either they're going to go and buy the house cash, right? Because no debt, right? I listen to Dave Ramsey, no debt.
Oh, it's horrible.
So they're going to buy one house. Cool. But let's just say they're a little bit savvier. They're going to go out and they heard Devin, they heard you and I talking about this idea of, well, let's go and get a mortgage because mortgages have the potential to be assets. They go and they get conventional lending, 20% down. So they have to come up with $20,000. They can buy 5 properties. So now they have 5 properties producing income for them. Right? But let's say they're even smarter than that and they start understanding this creative financing, maybe some seller financing or some subject twos, and they're able to go and get properties and they have an entry fee of 10%.
Right.
So now they could take that same $100,000 and buy 10 properties.
Right.
There are deals that we've gotten into where my down payment has literally been like $3,000, $5,000
Yeah.
on a $100,000, $200,000 property. Right. So now we're talking about I can buy 20 properties this way.
Yeah.
And so now everyone's thinking like, well, but Marlon, your cash flow is less. When you owned it free and clear, if rent was $1,000, you collected an entire 1,000. Now you have a mortgage. You have to pay $800 to your PI, TI, and all this stuff. You're only collecting $200. You're absolutely right. But if I had the 5 properties, I'm getting my $1,000 again. But also when the property appreciates 5% this year.
Right.
And now instead of just one property increasing from 100 to 105,000, I have 5 properties. So I've gained an additional $25,000 of appreciation in a single year. Let's talk about depreciation. I'm gaining the depreciation to offset my income.
Tax write-offs.
Right? So it's all these benefits become multiplied by being able to own and control multiple assets. And the more we can reduce the entry fee, which creative finance gives us the potential to control that lever, to lower how much it costs us to just get into the deal, the more deals I can go and purchase as long as I have the capacity to go out and basically find good deals. And to me, a good deal is something that preferably it cash flows. A good deal is something that preferably I can purchase it with some equity. And a good deal is in a marketplace that is likely to appreciate. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't control if something's going to appreciate. But based on just doing some market research and understanding where I want to buy and invest, I'm likely to position myself in a place that growth is likely to occur.
And you can see cycles. Like you could do research of what's happened 20 years prior. Like real estate goes in cycles like anything else, you know, and what you're saying is you want to limit the amount of out-of-pocket expense. Creative finance lets you do that as long as the terms on the back end make sense, right?
Exactly.
Which is so smart with anything you really do if you think about it. Like I've got one of my best friends growing up. He quit his job recently and didn't really know what he was doing. We kind of lost contact a little bit because we didn't have much in common. Have you had that? Like we're friends in the past, like they're employees, you're a business owner, like you just don't have things to talk about anymore, right? You still love them and appreciate them. If they need you, you're there for them, but there's nothing much to conversate about, right? or converse.
Right. You just say you grow apart, like you're in different seasons.
Right. So I kind of lost contact with him, didn't know what he was doing, hits me up and he's like, hey, just wanted to let you know I started my own business. Like seeing you do it, like gave me like hope and made me believe in myself that I could do it. And I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I'm proud of you. And he's like, yeah, I did it with no debt. I'm like, I'm not proud of you. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, why would you not want debt? And he's like, well, I got all these payments like with my personal life. I didn't want payments with my business. And I'm like, I get it. I get the thought. But let's say your business debt is $2,000 a month. If you can, because you spent that money with loans, you got $2,000 a month in debt, but you can go make 10 grand a month with your business. Who cares about the two? You're keeping the 8 grand and you're not using your money. Because if you use your money, you have to eventually make it back. It's still a debt.
Yep.
Like think about if you use 100 grand of your money, let's say you cash flow $1,000 a month. How long is that going to take you to make back your 100 grand, your investment?
It's going to take you 100 months.
Right. But if you don't have to put 100 grand down, if you only have to put 10 grand, let's say, but that changes your cash flow to 500 a month, then how quickly are you getting your investment back?
Yeah, it's literally like you're getting it way faster.
Way faster. It's just a shift in mindset, man. That's all it is.
Well, you know, it's so interesting too. What I find, Devin, is a lot of people don't do the math. They get these concepts, like they hear advice from a Dave Ramsey or from wherever. Maybe it was their parents, and then they never actually come back to fact check it. And something that I like to say affirmations. You and I, like we talked about that before in the past. And one of my affirmations is, I know my numbers. Right? As a business owner, I know my numbers. Because I always used to make this silly statement like, oh, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not a numbers guy.
So guess what? Then you're not a numbers guy.
Exactly. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And instead, I recognize as a business owner, I have to be a numbers guy. And numbers are interesting when they're relevant.
Right.
So when the numbers became relevant to ultimately my bank account increasing, to me owning more assets, to my life improving, I started to be way more fascinated by the numbers.
Yeah.
And when I would start to run the numbers and do the math, I started looking and seeing like, wow, although I might be paying a certain percentage or I might be taking on more debt, there's overall more net cash flow coming into me, or it's a larger percentage, or it's a larger ROI, which blows people's minds when you do the ROI math on, like, you know, you buy a property for $100,000, you get $1,000 of rent, but you had to put the entire $100,000 in, right? You take that $12,000, divide it by the 100, like you realize you're making what, maybe 9% on your money.
Cash on cash, yep.
Right? And then you go and show them like, hey, if you went and just simply got a mortgage, you're almost effectively doubling your ROI. And people are like, wait, what? Like, yeah, like your 9 just turned into, like, I forget what the math is. Maybe it's like 18%. I would need to like bust out a calculator right now. But you would see that you end up making more the less money you put into the deal. To the point where my properties, so my portfolio, I think we're at the place, at least the portfolio in the Midwest, where we haven't put any money into it of our own.
So you've got an infinite return.
Infinite ROI on technically every property in the portfolio.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
They don't.
You know what I mean?
It's amazing when, like, and I always ask this question to people. I say, how many properties would you buy? Because it's one of my like good deals, like one of my favorite deals I was actually like doing a case study the other day. And so I did like an entire deal breakdown. So I pulled out the HUDs, and on that property, I got paid $44,000 in cash out refi money to purchase the property. And I was asking everyone, like, how many properties would you buy if every time you bought a property, you used someone else's money to buy it, and after you paid that someone else back, there was $44,000 of money left over for you that you didn't owe income tax on? How many properties would you buy?
As many as you could do.
As many as you could find. You would just keep going until
Do I
there
have to sleep?
I mean, right? Like, that's what you do. You go out and you would just keep purchasing the properties. But what's interesting is you tell this to certain people, and this is probably why I focus so much on mindset, is you tell it to certain people and they instantly don't believe it's possible. They believe it's a scam. They believe all of those deals have already been taken. That was a lucky one-off situation. You'll never find anything like that again. And they actually block their own blessings by simply believing that they don't exist.
Yep.
And that's why I like try and show people like, hey, it does exist. Also, like, touch me like I'm a real person. I exist, and I'm telling you that it can happen. It has happened, and it will happen again.
It always makes me think of, is it Roger Bannister, the guy that
Yeah,
ran
the
the
4 minute
4 minute
mile?
mile?
Yep.
It was said by scientists and health professionals that the body, like the heart would explode if you ran in a 4 minute mile. The body could not do it. But he did it, and then the floodgates opened. Like the next year, like there was a ton of people that ran a 4 minute mile just because, oh, he could do it. It's
Yeah.
proof that it's possible. So if he can do it, why can't I do it? Kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, dude, I love it.
It's interesting, right? I think in this game of entrepreneurship, there almost has to be a level of delusion that you have to have that things are possible, right? So like I say, like I'm stupid enough to believe that things like good things will happen and that I will find these sort of opportunities. You know, it's even recently somebody just approached me this past weekend, 2 guys out of Houston, awesome investors. I actually really like these guys. So we're looking to do some deals together. And they brought me this about $700,000 or $800,000 property out in Houston, massive property, similar to the Mindset Manor you saw in Gilbert, another kind of deal like that. Almost exact same situation, 2.5% interest rate, about $50,000 in arrears. Monthly payments were like kind of on par, a little bit lower than my monthly payments are right now. Same amount of square footage, a little under 4,000 square feet. And I was like, wow, this is absolutely amazing that there's another property out there that we can take over at 2.5% interest.
There's
And then
probably thousands, hundreds of thousands.
there's so many deals like this. In fact, what a lot of people don't think about is we had to think about when these loans were originated just a few years back when the interest rates were super low.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people getting into property and they were in a bit of a buying frenzy and they were buying at the top of the market because the affordability was there.
Yeah.
Now, what's natural is, especially with like in the VA loan area, like with veterans, they buy properties quickly because it's so easily accessible. They don't need to come up with the down payment. So they're a little bit trigger happy on the purchase. And then they get relocated. And when they get relocated, they want to sell the property. But the challenge is you got in for no money, but now it's going to cost
no
you to get
equity.
out. There's no equity.
Yeah.
And you bought at the peak and you were willing to overpay because what did you care? It didn't cost you anything up front.
Yeah.
And, you know, adding an extra $50,000 to your purchase price didn't drastically change your monthly payments with interest rates so low.
Yeah.
So you were willing to even be underwater to get in the deal because they weren't thinking long term.
So
That's where the opportunity gets made or got made.
does it kind of blow your mind when you think about, like right now we're having this conversation and you're just spitting this out. It's just you're not rehearsing it. It's just coming to you, right? You know all this about creative finance now. Mm-hmm. Back in 2019 October.
Yeah.
Is that when you left
October
your
of
job?
2019. Yep.
Do you remember what day?
I don't remember the day. I'm not as that was cool when you like busted out the day the other day.
Dude,
You were like,
October 8th is when I left my job, 2019.
Get
that's
outta
why
here.
that's why like dude,
Dang.
we got these parallels that we
Bro.
draw, bro. But yeah, my brain just works on like a timeline. So
Yep.
I'm so good at dates. And we didn't get into it at the Mindset Manor that I can like you tell me a movie, if I've seen it, I can get it within like a year or two of when it was released. So let's do
crazy.
it now. Let's see. Give me a movie.
all right, let's think about Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo.
I like that
All right,
movie,
so
bro.
let me see. That would be 2001, 2002. So let's check it on the fly. Somebody.
Okay, can we look that up? I'm about to pull my phone out on that
Hey,
one.
you guys, this is not being edited. This is not being cut. So in the comments, don't be hating like, oh, he cut it and then looked it up.
Let's find out. I'm pulling it up right now. Finding Nemo
2001, 2002, I'm going to say.
release date.
2002 is standing out more to me.
Ooh, May 30th, 2003.
So 2002 is standing out more. So yeah, so about a year,
Yep.
like I said. And you want to know how I came up with that?
How?
Again, my mind works on like on a timeline. So I put like a big event that I know sticks out to me. And then I think, was that movie before or after that? So the big event I'm thinking of is my little nephew. He was born in 2002. And I remember he used to watch that movie all the time. And it was like a new movie. So my mind just went, boom, okay, it's either 2002, 2001, maybe 2002, 2003.
Yep. That's funny how your mind works, because like dates don't stick out for me, but different little things, like I'm a landmark guy. So it's like I drive somewhere, like coming here today, I'm going to remember how to get here for the rest of my life. Like
See,
I go somewhere
and
once.
for me, I'm lost. If I don't have GPS, bro, like Apple CarPlay saves my life.
Yeah, that's funny, man. Like it's so interesting to see how the mind works. But like to your point, right? Like just even seeing how, like I do get amazed sometimes at how much information I've learned. And what's interesting is my brother, he's over in Florida, and he's been now wanting to get into the real estate. You know how sometimes it's harder to get your family into what you're doing. They need to almost see you go and be successful first.
Yep.
And I acknowledged that a couple of years back, so I didn't get upset about it. I recognized, you know what, the people closest to me, the challenge that they have is they remember all the garbage. Like they remember all the dumb stuff I've done. So like, you know, like
I can
the
relate.
strangers like just get to meet me where I'm at. Like my family and my friends, they have to remember all the nonsense I've been spewing
The
for years.
knucklehead Marlon.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit longer to win them over.
Yeah.
So he's won over now a little bit, and he's asking me these questions. And I'm not gonna lie, there are days where I'm almost getting frustrated. Like, dude, why don't you just know this already? And then I reflect and I remember, you know what? There was a season, a year or so of just being locked in, watching every video I could, asking every question I could, going to every single meetup, being on every call, taking notes when a person was talking to me. I mean, I have notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks. And when I go back to New York in the childhood house I grew up in, I have my library, and I actually go to my library and I open up like my journals and my notes, and I'm looking at what I was writing down. A mortgage is not the title, right? I didn't know that stuff. I thought the mortgage and the title were two, like one and the same. So it's interesting to see how much the knowledge base has grown.
Bro, I didn't even know how to spell mortgage.
Right.
I was like, there's a T in there? What?
Right? Like it's crazy how much information and knowledge we just start to absorb, and it becomes so second nature. So I like to always remind people, if they're getting started, it's okay to not know, and it's okay to be in a season of not knowing while you're learning.
Right.
You don't need to know it all. In fact, the best thing you can ever say, the most powerful thing you can ever say is, I don't know. Right? Is it okay if I get back to you? I'm going to go research it and show people that you're continuously figuring things out. That's going to win rapport with people, much more JV partners, working with clients, working with homeowners. Everybody will respect a person who admits when they don't know something, but is willing to go and search, find the answer, and come back. And then that's how we do learn.
Yeah. And I think there's power in actually doing, instead of just like learning, watching videos, reading books, and then just not using the knowledge, right? If you learn something and then you go apply it, most people are going to learn a lot more by applying knowledge than just looking at it on a page, right? So I love that that's what you actually did. You didn't just learn and just sit back and woe is me, why haven't I got any deals? You actually went and freaking put your ass to work.
So you know what's funny about that? I actually so I'm a routine person. I like routines. You and I talked about this. Like we have morning routines. You're up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm
Not
up
that
at,
early, 3:30. Give me my 30 minutes.
He sleeps in.
Yes.
I'm a little bit later than that. You know, closer to 5:30 these mornings. It used to be closer to 5 o'clock. However, what I discovered was, in the past, I would take all this knowledge in late at night, watch the Tony Robbins videos and the Robert Kiyosaki's, and I'm reading the book, and I'm up till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, all amped up. I'm ready to take on the world. I go to sleep, wake up the next day, and I'm like, where'd all that energy go? Where'd all the enthusiasm? Where'd all the insight and all the focus and the clarity go? It's all gone. And now I'm spending the beginning half of the day trying to like recapture that feeling so then I can know what to do. And then I discovered, what if I, instead of doing that learning and studying late in the day, I did it first thing in the morning, so that then I have the day to apply directly what I just learned, because the information without implementation was leading to a lot of frustration. And now if I can start to implement on the information in the same day that I learn it, not only am I moving the needle, but I'm also solidifying the information because I've already used it.
Yes.
So now we have like a law of first use here with it, and I'm getting it into the body. So I started switching things up, and I made the morning times the time where I was going to go and do my study. In the early days for real estate, what it really looked like was doing a lot of role plays first thing in the morning, getting on Zoom call. Well, it was actually Skype because we couldn't afford a Zoom membership. I mean, I was broke, dude. Like, so I couldn't even afford that $14 for
broke?
the Zoom. Bro, it was bad.
Wow. All right.
Dude, yeah, like every penny, like I was like in the red, man. Which I was a Dave Ramsey guy, so it's like I was always saving. So then when like I finally started spending, it was like it was gone, and like I didn't know how to recoup it fast enough. So in those early
so you're
days,
saying you can't save your way to wealth?
not at all. I truly do not believe you can save your way to wealth. I believe saving is a good skill to learn, and it's a part of financial stewardship, and it's a part of financial responsibility. However, if your game plan to become a multimillionaire is to save, it's just
not gonna happen.
You don't earn enough to be able, like no one earns enough to be able to do that.
Right.
The only way there is to invest and have compound interest working in your favor.
I know a thing or two about compounding. But like it's true, man. If you save, like here's the only thing that happens. You can save in generally like a savings account, high yield, let's say. Right now they're around 5% right now. But that's because rates are high. When rates go down, they're like 0.5%. You're not going to become rich off 0.5%. You're not going to become rich off 5%, right? It's going to take a very long time. So what if, though, you could save and spend at the same time? And this is what I love about infinite banking is you put money into a policy where you're saving it. It's guaranteed to grow. Then you use it and spend it, invest it, give it away. You're giving your money two jobs, right? I freaking love compound interest. I could talk about it all freaking day. But more about the mindset. Like, I want people to really understand what he said here is that 2019, October 2019, you were broke. Working, what were you doing? What was your job?
Dude, so I'm from New York, so we had 3 jobs. No one in New York
You had
has,
3 jobs?
Yeah, man. Like no one in New York has just one job, bro. So I was working in a catering hall, like a restaurant. It was the Elks Lodge, just like a Knights of Columbus, if you guys know what those are.
Okay.
Had that job since I was 13 years old. I was a parkour coach.
Since you were 13.
Yeah, bro. Dude, Caribbean, man. My dad's Jamaican. Like, we work. Like, it's like if you wanted things, you worked. Like
Child labor laws.
Yeah, bro. Like I was so grateful. My best friend, his dad was the chef, and I used to just hound this guy. Like, please give me a job.
Okay.
Please, I'll do whatever. Like, I'll clean the toilets. I don't care. So they hooked me up with a job off the books for a lot of time until years later I was old enough to actually
Paying cash?
legally. Yep, I just
No
got
taxes?
paid cash each night. Yeah,
Killing
man.
it. So you had that
Love
job,
it.
the parkour.
Parkour coach.
And so people know what's parkour.
Parkour is it's a movement discipline, so it's getting from point A to point B efficiently. It's kind of flips and tumbling. I like to tell people it's like gymnastics, but like on cement.
When you're jumping from like buildings and up on a rail and that kind of crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
like
And
if
then-
anyone's ever seen the James Bond movie Casino Royale,
Yeah.
the opening scene of that movie where they're like running through.
That was you?
I mean, I should say it was me, man. Like,
I was the stunt devil.
but yeah, like that's parkour. So if anyone ever is like, man, what is that? It's like most people know it from the skit of The Office. It's
Okay,
like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the most common thing. But yeah, no, like that was a serious practice for me. So I loved it. We grew the largest parkour program in the nation. A lot of people don't know that. Like it started getting really big. So I did that, and then the third job I had, I used to clean AutoZones at night, man. Like I would
Really?
go into AutoZones with an industrial cleaner around 10 p.m. and I would just be like pouring like these chemicals on the ground.
Like
and,
the little, it's like
Yeah.
it's like as big as this table and it just spins to buff
Dude,
the floors.
yep.
That was you?
That was me. That was me and my uncle's friend late at night doing that job. That one was the worst, bro. I hated that job.
Dude, you know what's crazy? So guys, this is 2019. The
Yep.
guy has 3 jobs. One of them he's cleaning floors at AutoZone, which I'm sure those floors are very dirty because it's AutoZone.
Dude, and like, oh man, those floors are disgusting.
So that's gross. But you had 3 jobs, knew nothing about real estate, right?
Nah.
Not a thing. Quit the jobs, go into like real estate and mindset coaching and a podcast, like kind of just bet on yourself. You jumped and you grew your wings on the way down.
100%.
Right.
And the wings did not come out immediately.
They were like inches from the ground and
yeah, like the wings were like trying to break out. So it's like,
Yeah.
I want to let people know Like when you jump, you're gonna get torn up on the rocks a little bit.
Yeah, guys. So really think about that. There's not some complex equation to success. There really isn't. It's just you have to do little things consistently. I should say you have to do little things well, consistently. So little things could be as like this is something that I try to do every day. Get up, make my bed. That's something so little. That's something so little. But it's starting your day with discipline. And discipline is the only thing that can really, really change your life. Because think about it. If you're going to get in a cold plunge, which I know you do.
Yep.
I do as well. You're not going to do it unless you have discipline. Your brain's going to tell you, hell no, it's cold as hell in there. I'm not doing it. But if you have discipline, you're like, no, this is what I do. I get in. Boom, you get in. Those little things, if you do them consistently, you become successful, right?
Yeah. And a lot of people forget that. And so this is something like if I could give like a really practical tip for people that are looking to get started, or maybe they've started a while ago and they feel like I still haven't gotten to where I want to be. I set these big goals and every year I feel a little frustrated, a little let down at the end of the year because I haven't accomplished it yet. Right? If a person's ever thought to themselves, like they look in the mirror and they're like, man, I really thought I'd be further along in life at this age or like by this time, and you're not there.
Been there.
Right? I've been there as well. I would stop setting my goals only specifically as like the end target, as just the output. And I would start to set my goals as the input. What's the little thing I can do? So like, let's say I'm in real estate and my goal is to get my first deal. I would let that be a target, but then I would start measuring success, not on did I get my deal yet. I'd measure success on did I make the phone call today? And if I made the phone call, because that's the activity, that's the input that produces the output, I would start to measure success on am I doing the inputs? Because the inputs are tiny. The inputs seem inconsequential from moment to moment, day to day, but over the long run, it's those step by steps that actually finish the entire race. Right? Like last year, I got deep into marathon running and all this kind of stuff. And as I was running further and further distances, I just kept being amazed at, wow, like I'm 10 miles out, I'm 15 miles out, I'm 20 miles out. And this all is just this accumulation of these small steps, right? These minute by minutes. And then an hour goes by or 2 hours go by. And before I know it, my tracker is telling me I've ran 20 miles. And I'm like, that's nuts.
Your
It's
body's
insane.
like numb at that point.
Yeah, my soul was numb at that point,
I
man.
bet.
Like,
Yeah, you go through some dark places.
it's crazy. But the craziest part is you arrive at these finish lines that you never really saw for yourself. And it wasn't because you were trying to conquer the entire distance in one leap, which is what most people do as an approach to business or setting big goals, versus just taking it step by step. Like I literally can't run a race any other way besides step by step.
Yeah, you have to put your shoes on. So that's the first step.
Yep.
That's the action. Like you're not going to run a marathon as the goal, the end goal. Run a marathon, run an ultra, whatever it may be.
Yep.
Without first putting on your socks and shoes. That's the input, right? I love what you're saying, dude, because it always, I love mindset stuff, and you do as well. And I go back to what you're saying is the same thing as a mindset. Like think about your actions are what get you to goals, right? That's the input you're talking about to get to the end goal. But your actions, they start with how you feel, right? So your emotions dictate your actions, but what dictates your emotions? Your thoughts. So it starts with your thoughts, your mindset. So your mindset impacts how you feel impacts what you do impacts how you live and what you accomplish.
100% agree with you.
Go ahead and clip that one. Let's go.
No, I agree with you 100%. And what's interesting is I'm in a position now where I'm lucky enough to be able to coach people. People open up to me. They let me into their minds. They let me into their worlds. And like we get through the fluff conversation and we talk about what's real. And when I'm talking to them about what's real, they express to me they want their life to be one way. However, their environment, the friends, like the environment that they're choosing, their social group, their physical environment, the books they read, the things they put on television, they show me, I'm like, well, based on what you're showing me as your environment and the influences in it, those things are affecting your thoughts, which are therefore affecting your results. And you're out of alignment with the life you say you want, but you're unwilling to really come back over here and change. So you want your life to change, but you're unwilling to change. It's never going to happen. I'm sorry. Like, you're fighting, you're trying to push a boulder up a hill on a wet, slippery, muddy day. It's just, you're not working with any traction. We need to change what your environment is, your friend group, your influences, the books you're reading, the TV shows you're programming yourself with, so that they can be in alignment with where you want to go. That's critical.
So good.
So, like,
guys, rewind that for about 2 minutes. Re-listen to that. That's so freaking good. Like, take notice of what you do on a daily basis. Like, what are you thinking about? Write it down. Have a journal, right? At noon, I usually do this. I start watching this show. I'm with this friend. Like, document your day and then study it, and then have your goals, what your end goal is, what you want, and then look at what you did throughout the day. Does that line up with these audacious goals that you have?
Yeah.
Probably not, or you'd be closer to them, right?
I 100% agree. It's funny. I'm thinking back to, it was maybe around 2018, somewhere around that time. I'm still living at home. Actually, it might have been even earlier than that. It was sometime when I was still back at home. And I was beginning to have that feeling that I wanted things to change in my life. However, I was still hanging out with the childhood friends, the high school friends, and they're great people, right? Like, they're absolutely wonderful humans. They've got love for me. I have love for them. However, what we were into back then was a lot more partying, a lot more drinking. And I remembered one day I just made up my mind that I'm not going to drink anymore. So that became a decision that I'm just not really interested in having a drink. Maybe I'll drink once or twice a year, but typically I'm just not a drinker anymore. And I was still continuing to frequent the places that we hung out, the bars. And so one night I'm at the bar, Devin, and a buddy of mine, he's just asking me over and over, hey, why aren't you having a drink? Why aren't you having a drink? Are you going to get a drink yet? And it almost bothered me where I said to him, hey, just out of curiosity, why are you drinking? And he looks at me confused and puzzled. And I say, well, listen, let me explain to you. I'm not drinking right now because I decided that ultimately I don't feel like I need to anymore. I did it because it used to give me confidence. It helped me speak my mind. It helped me dance on the dance floor. It helped me just like do the things I wanted to do. Loosen me up. But I realized I can just do those things. I don't really need the permission from the alcohol. Therefore, I don't feel the need to drink. But why are you drinking? And I can see when I said that to him, it almost like offended him. It almost hurt him. And in that moment, I paused and realized I'm the jerk. Like, I'm the asshole because I took notice of my environment. Dude, I'm standing in a bar, right? I'm over here like pressing him back on why are you drinking? Well, we're standing in a bar. The real question I should have been asking is why am I in a bar?
Yeah.
Like, and I realized I need to go change my environment.
It's perspective.
It was perspective.
That's it.
So that's when I started looking for, hey, I need change. I need to be around new people.
Yeah.
And that journey started to lead me to the books and the podcasts and the mentors but I had to recognize that I need to also, I can't just change internally. I also need to let my external environment match. Those two need to come in harmony with one another.
Yeah.
And that's a process. It's a journey. So I love it because your people that are watching this podcast, they're probably somewhere on that journey as well. Maybe they have made that choice mentally, and this is a part of them making that mental change of environment. But maybe their physical environment is still, after they leave this podcast, they're stepping back in with their old friend group.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's they've stepped away and they're in isolation. This is their connection. And I would remind them, go and get that physical proximity as well. There's a power to a physical proximity that just can't happen in the same way. Like, you and I first met over Zoom, which was awesome. However, then meeting you in person, I'm like, yo, this dude's electric. Like, its energy is fire. Like, and people felt it. Like, when you were at the house, people were like, man, like, that dude was buzzing. Like, people can feel, okay, he's authentic. He really wants to be here. He really wants to serve. And that energy, I feel, calibrates people. It lets them understand how to get their own frequency in alignment as well. And that's, it's something that no one can ever teach you with words. It's something that can only be felt, in my opinion.
Yep. I talk about this all the time, that everyone is energy. Everything is energy. Like, doesn't matter what it is, this table, that water, you and I, we are just energy at our core, just positive and a negative neutron. I think that's what it is, right? I'm not a scientist, but basically we are energy, right? That's it. So everyone vibrates at a certain frequency depending on how they are thinking. So it's all about mindset. What you think is going to be dictated on how you feel. So, like, perfect example. For those of you who are watching this, you'll see it. For those that are listening, I'm going to slump back in my chair. I was just sitting forward. So if I'm sitting here like this, what do you think I'm thinking? I think my thoughts are positive. You think they're, ready to go take on the world?
No, that's not the vibe I'm getting. Not right now.
Because, like, my emotion is like that I'm just sad and down and out. It's actually hard for me to, like, be sad. Like, I just usually am not sad. But that's because I'd feel that way if I was thinking that way. And therefore, I'd be giving off the energy. Everyone would see me. They'd be like, oh, I don't want to talk to this guy. He's in a bad mood, right? But if I'm up and I'm feeling good, it's because I'm thinking right, and everyone's going to be drawn to me.
You want to hear an interesting thing? I'm so much a believer of, like, your energy. Zach, you had Zach on the podcast, and Zach he said this saying to me a few years back when I came here to Arizona for the first time. He said, Marlon, your energy enters the room before you ever do.
Yep.
And those words, like, got branded on my brain, and I took it so real and so to the heart that I was like, you know what? I need to always make sure my energy is out there. So I have this affirmation I say every day, which is, everything is for my benefit, right? Like, everything happens for me, and it's for my growth and benefit. Therefore, it doesn't matter what happens. We could have a deal where we lose money. Cool, that was for my growth and benefit. Somehow that is for my benefit. I just believe everything will always work out. And so recently, when me and my buddies decided we're going to do a run across America,
which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, it was a very last minute plan. Like, this wasn't like we've been planning this out for 2 years. This was, I get a phone call from Andrew. He's like, yo, dude, I want to run across America. And I'm like, I got you. Like, I'll help you at least run across Phoenix.
You're crazy.
And it kept escalating. Before I knew it, I was like, all right, screw it. Like, I'm coming along with you. Like, we're just going to do this. And we needed an RV to make it happen. Devin, I'd never owned an RV before. Like, I'm from New York. I'm like a kid out on Long Island. Like, we're not camping or anything like that. So I don't know anything about RVs. I don't know anyone who has an RV. I'm just like, I'm still technically unemployed because, like, I'm doing my own business, and like I've been terrible about giving myself, like, a salary and a paycheck to be, like, bankable and financeable from that standpoint. Or maybe I am. I don't know. I have good credit, but I have no idea what it means to go out and, like, buy an RV. So I'm just like, man, we're just going to trust me, an RV is going to come, right? And I just put it out there, and I made, like, one Instagram post saying, like, I'm looking for an RV. Ingrid reaches out to Carly. Carly is like, hey, I've got the perfect RV for you. It's already ready. It's fully stocked. It sleeps 5 adults. It's got bed covering, and inside of it, they actually used to rent this RV out for people on Outdoorsy. So it has all the furniture, the dishes, the plates, the sink, the whole everything I could possibly need. And I'm like, holy moly. And then she says, on top of that, you could take it over subject too. I'm like, dude, no freaking way this is happening. Right? So it's like, I get this brand new, like, 2018 RV with, like, 20,000 miles on it for $3,000 and $500 a month payments. And I'm just like, this is not actually happening. But my belief is, like, my energy puts things out. Like, I truly, like, I don't stress about things. I don't get anxious about it. I know that, great, once I want something to happen and I'm able to put a positive thought towards it and not sit around and do nothing about it, but start to work towards it with a spirit of expectation, that ultimately the things that need to fall into alignment already have been put in place for me.
Yes.
And that spirit of expectation, the way I like to put it is, it's like in the analogy of, if you and I went to dinner and we're sitting in a restaurant and the waitress, she comes by and she says, can I take your order? And you're like, sure, I'm going to take the quesadilla. And I'm like, awesome, I'm going to take the burger. And she walks off and she now has our order. A spirit of expectation looks like you and I just going back and having a casual conversation. We're relaxing. We know that our meal is on the way. When I set goals and intentions out into the world, it's very much like a waitress came to the table, took our order, and then stepped off. Some people, the way they set an order in life with business and goals is like that waitress comes over, I'll take the burger, And then, hey, wait, Miss Wait, I said I'll take the burger. Hey, did you hear me though? I want the burger. Hey, I just want to make sure you know I want the burger. And they keep saying it in a way of like, I don't think you believe the burger's actually coming. She got the order. Now relax and go back to doing what you need to do, knowing that the burger is on the way. So knowing that the burger is on its way, like if I'm in and out of something, I'm getting my ketchups ready, I'm getting my salt packets ready, I'm getting the napkins ready. I'm preparing for the burger to come. So that's what I did with the RV. I knew it was on its way. And so I began preparing for it to come. So I started reaching out and we're getting the RV wrapped for the run across America. So we start contacting before we even have the RV identified, we start connecting with the people who are going to wrap it. It's like, hey, yeah, like just when do I need to get the RV? Oh, they're like, what size RV? I'm not sure yet, but
I'll let you know when I know.
When I figure out, I got you. And so it's silly, man, but like my life has proven to me so far that approach works. And it's a mixture of doing the work and having faith that it will work out.
I love it. I freaking love it. I love that you bought that RV sub too. That's freaking cool, dude. So there was a loan on the RV, right? So guys, he just took the loan over. So the loan stays in the other person's name.
Yep.
The title and the loan are two separate things.
Yep.
So that's something that people don't realize is that they think, oh, well, this person has a loan. It's still their house. No, they own the loan. You own the house. You have the title. So it's the same thing with the RV. They own the loan on the RV. You own the title on the RV. The RV is yours. The debt is theirs.
Correct.
So let's just say the debt payments on the RV are $500 a month. But you can take that RV and you can rent it out for $1,500, whatever it may be. $1,500, $500 of it pays this payment. So he's made whole. He's getting what he wants. You're making $1,000 a month.
And that's actually exactly what we're going to be doing with the RV after we're done with the run across America.
I love it.
Just putting it up on Outdoorsy, and now we're going to be cash flowing it.
Turning it into an asset.
And that's the thing. A lot of times, people were told, and again, this is why I stay clear of those absolute blanket statements of like, your car is a liability. Well, if I throw my car on Turo, and it's not producing income for me, it's not the car itself is a liability. It's how you use it. It's what you do with it.
Yep.
So it's that reminder of people that if you can look at something and figure out how to have it make money for you, and you can essentially arbitrage the expense, arbitrage the interest, arbitrage the payments, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Right? Like playing with debt is powerful if you treat it responsibly.
Anything can be a liability or an asset. Like this water is a liability if I had to pay for it to get it, right? And then I consume it. It's keeping me alive, but it's still a liability because it takes money out of my pocket.
Correct.
Right? So let's say this water is $1. I buy it for $1. It took money out of my pocket, but then I can sell it to you for $3.
Asset.
I've turned into an asset. Even better, if I can borrow, let's say someone's money to buy it for $1. Now I'm using their money to buy it. So it's still not even an asset to me because it's their money, or it's a liability to me. I buy it with their money. Now I sell it to you for $3. Give them their $1 back. I made $2 off their money.
Yep.
It works with anything.
It's so powerful, and this is why earlier today I was running a call, and one of the people on the call, we were breaking down ultimately like as we make money, what do I do with it? Because everyone knows I like to borrow money. Right? Like when I go and I get into a deal, I'm using OPM, other people's money, to get into deals. It increases my access to capital, which allows me to just look at more options because I'm never running out of cash. Because if I only ever spend my money, the problem is eventually I will run out of money and I'll have to wait for my money to build back up.
Yep.
If I'm using everyone else's money, I have as much access to capital as I can have conversation. And I can have a lot of conversation. So with using other people's money and getting into deals, ultimately what I'm able to do is go out and find these assets. And the reason I can do this is somebody taught me the best investment I can ever make is into myself. So when I start earning cash and people said, well, what do you do? What do you do with your personal money if you're not using it to buy assets? And I said, well, I invest back in me. right? And that looks like paying for mentorships, paying for courses, paying for masterminds. It looks like paying to change my surroundings to be in new neighborhoods, changing my social circle, and like spending, like I'll go on a dinner with someone like you and I'll sit down and we'll start to talk and I start learning like, oh, I can also be putting my money into whole life policies. And so all these different things ultimately come back into me as my investment, because I recognize I'm the goose that lays the golden egg. I'm the number one asset I own, because I'm the thing that has the capacity to turn this water bottle that was a neutral object into a liability or an asset, depending on the way I choose to play the game.
Dude, you know, I just watched, I binge watched it. I'm not big on shows because I know myself and I'll just binge and I won't sleep. But dude, The Men Who Built America.
At least once a year. At least once a year I come back to it.
It got me fired up to like take over the world, bro. And like these men back in the day, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, JP Morgan, they basically just looked at things a different way than everybody else, and they turned their like ideas into empires.
Mm-hmm.
And like it got me so fired up. I literally finished the entire season in like 2 days.
Yeah, it's nuts when you see though what's possible. And what is interesting is when you watch a show like that and your thought process isn't, wow, they are so amazing. It's more of a, wow, look at what we're capable of.
Right.
Then you know you're cut from a certain cloth.
Yeah.
You're cut from the same, you're made up of the same material as these men. Because there are some people that watch that and they think, well, that can never be me. And I'm like, oh, well, with a thought process like that, you're correct.
Right. Yeah.
Right? But when you look and you see, okay, that is what they did. That is what we can do if that's our desire. And how do I want to leverage that potential?
Yeah.
Do I want to tap into that potential? And I see that it's going to come with stress. I see that it's going to come with a different workload. It's going to come with a different level of sacrifice. Do I want it?
Yeah.
If I do, then let's go make it happen.
Yeah.
And start surrounding ourselves with people that do this.
At the end of the day, though, it's not about the money.
No.
It's about the game. Like when you get to a certain point where you've got enough money and you start buying things that money buys, you start understanding it's just like, it's not really that. Like a car is just a car at the end of the day. Even if it's a supercar, you drive it enough, it's just your car, right? A mansion is just a house. You live in it enough, it's just like, it's just my house. You know what I mean? So it's never about the money. I think at first for everyone it is, because you want the things that money buys. But once you get those things, it's just like, all right, now it's just the game of money. Yeah. Which you're a big Kiyosaki guy. Have you ever played
Cash Flow board game?
Bro.
Dude, I love that game.
Bro, we got to like put together maybe a mastermind where we play that game.
I'm for it, man.
Because, dude, every time I get done playing that game, I'm like, doodads. Dude, I can't have no doodads. No more doodads.
Bro, you want to hear how powerful of a game that was? So in the house, right, the Mindset Manor, a big part of it is entrepreneurs coming to live together, to be in that mastermind environment, to be around the campfire, to progress personal development, work on their business, all of it. So Thursday nights, what we started doing was we started doing board game night. Cash Flow was the game we would play. The very first night we played it, Caroline, she was sitting down. We go through the whole thing. She's so focused on the game. If people don't know how this game is played, one of the best board games out there. She's so focused on her paydays, right? Like getting paid. She forgot that the premise of the game is to get out of the rat race. So as she's just focused on this, I'm over here like doing these different deals. She's not really paying attention to me. And then I'm out on the fast track and she's like, wait a second. What just happened? How did you get to the fast track? Because she was playing the game the way she played life, which was she was stacking her savings.
Yeah.
So she was saving. And
I'm over here. As you have some savings, buy an investment, buy this deal, buy that deal.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm coming across deals and I'm like, oh, this is a great deal. Let me go borrow money from the bank. Yeah. And I'm just like borrowing money and just like, she's like looking at me like laughing internally like this idiot's getting into debt. Yeah. And I'm just like, all right. And then my investment would turn around because my ability as an investor, right? Like the skill set I have is to be able to identify a good deal, to know when a good deal is in front of me and to be willing to risk it to make the good deal happen. So I did that. I got out of the game, finished up, I won. And then we sit down and what I always make us do at the end of the game is we reflect. And so I said, what did you learn about this game? She said, holy crap. I was just so focused on saving that I wasn't even focused on the actual outcome of owning assets to get out of the rat race.
Yeah.
And she like almost started to like cry because she's like, I'm living my life this way. And I'm like, ain't it crazy? Then here's the crazy part. In that game, you know how if you don't call out payday when you pass go,
Yeah.
like you don't collect your money.
Yeah.
Like you actually have to call it out and ask for your pay. She went into work the next day and she said, out of curiosity, like, let me see if I've been missing any pay. Dude, she had about like $7,000 worth of payments that never came to her, that she never noticed because she wasn't calling for her payday. And I was,
wow.
dude, mind blown. Like, no, this game is changing lives.
Wow.
Right? Teaching financial literacy, which is like, if you're not paying attention to the dollars and cents, you have to take account for where your money is going and what your money is doing. Because to your point, they're your little green soldiers.
Yep.
But like, that's the army you marshal. And if you don't know what your troops are up to, you're not in control of the army.
Dude, I every month I sit down last day of the month and I just put everything on paper. How much money do I have in this account? I look up all the accounts. I write down the numbers. I think we got like 12 bank accounts, something stupid.
Yep.
I put all of it on paper. That's how much I have in banks. And then all my policies, we have 13 policies. I'll write down exactly how much cash flow is or cash value is there. Boom, I've got all that. I'll write down everything I have invested, private money deals, what's in my personal properties that I'm investing in. Boom, that's what I have working for me. If that number that's working for me is not 10 times the size of what I have in cash, I deploy more. I always want to have whatever I have in liquidity.
Yep.
I want 10 times that working for me.
That's a good rule.
So I want liquidity because you need it in case something happens. Liquidity does matter. So I want some cash in the bank. I want some cash in my policies, more in my policies than in the banks. But whatever that number is, if there's $100,000 here, I need $1 million out working, right? If I've got $2 million out working and I've got 500 in the banks, that's too much in the bank.
Yep.
Get more working. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's just what I do. And I think everyone should start doing that. See where your money's at. See what it's doing, every aspect of it, and just play the game smarter. And
that's a smart rule. It's giving the money a job. And the fact that you sit down and you do that once a month, I could already tell, like, people are gonna be like, oh, man, like, Evan, like, that's going to take forever. The first time it will, because I did that once a month. I sat down and I shouldn't say once a month, because I actually do it now once a week, because I didn't do it for so long. I needed to build the muscle, right? Like, so I sat down, and the very first time it took me hours of going to this bank account and like looking, and then, you know, it's not just like looking and grabbing a number, it's looking and being like, oh my gosh, like, how did I spend so much money?
then you go back and see, like, oh,
yeah,
Starbucks every day.
and you start going through. So the first time you're just kind of like recapping your own history, and then you're learning and understanding your behaviors. Because to your point, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So then from there, now that we have awareness on it, we have sight on it, you can start to change the behavior. It becomes a more conscious choice on what you do. And then that's a good rule. I'm going to actually deploy that, where it's like, for whatever I have liquid, 10x needs to be out working, earning more.
At all times.
Love that rule.
Dude, because the crazy part is, the more you do that, if you're investing for cash flow, which I do the same thing, it's the smartest thing you can do, because cash flow, here's what I'll tell you. Kiyosaki says this, and you like Kiyosaki. I love Kiyosaki. I love everything he stands for, everything he talks about. He says, I can't tell you what my net worth is. I have no idea. I know what my cash flow is. I can tell you that, because that's what matters. Like, think about if we own this building and it's worth $2 million and we have a loan on it for $1 million. We have $1 million in net worth, right? If the market drops tomorrow, where does that net worth go?
Down.
Disappears. Thin air. Can't use the net worth unless you take out a loan, right? So you have to refinance, you have to get an equity line, or it's just air. Can't use it, right? So it doesn't really matter. What matters is how much do you have coming in? How much can you rely on coming in every single month? So people always say, like, to me, hey, you should probably have more in like a safety net, like a what if happens fund, liquidity.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, I don't need all that in there, because guess what? I've got this coming in. That's my safety net. I can easily live off of what's coming in.
Cash flow. So for me, cash flow is king. Yeah. I love, like, don't get me wrong, I love equity. because
Yeah.
equity gives me options and equity lets me sleep at night. However, equity, it's kind of like owning stock, right? Like it fluctuates, it's up, it's down. And it's not, I can't take my equity to the bank and buy groceries.
Right.
That's what I learned. I learned that like the cashier at Trader Joe's didn't care that one of my properties has an extra $100,000 of equity. Like he's like, dude, cash or credit.
You can tell he's healthy. He eats at Trader Joe's. Come on.
Dude, Trader Joe's is the bomb,
Trader
bro.
Joe's is good. I'm a Sprouts guy myself.
Yeah, dude, the first time I walked into Sprouts, they had this bomb ice cream in one of the aisles. I was like, all right.
Oh, don't you dare say the I word to me. I love ice cream, bro. It's literally my kryptonite.
Dude,
Like, you know, most people they'll get like a
little, like,
pint
pint?
of ice cream, take a few bites.
You-
Nope.
you
I'll
kill the whole
I'll
thing.
murder that whole pint in one sitting. Unless my wife is around, my wife will be like, "Stop!" and she'll like take it from me because I'm just like, it's going hard, bro.
Dude, I love it. You know, but like cash flow ultimately is, I personally think, you know, and every investor is different. I'm a conservative investor, right?
Same.
So I want to know that money is coming in each month. We're making more than it's costing us to own, that cash flow is happening.
Yep.
Because I'm looking at how do I do work once? Like I'm lazy, but not lazy. I'm lazy in the sense of like I would like to get paid forever for the work that I do
Bro, I
today.
swear we're like the same person.
It's crazy.
I'm the laziest dude ever. I seriously am. I don't want to work.
Yeah.
So I just get my money to work for me.
Yeah, I'm in that boat. So it's like it's funny. I'm in a mastermind with just like 4 guys. It's a very tight, like just tight circle of us. And inside there, the thing we keep talking about over and over and over is MRR. What's your new monthly recurring revenue? How much money do you have flowing in each month? That's the number that matters. Because great, you can go and do 100,000 this month or 500,000 this month, but the minute you're done working is the minute money stops flowing in. That's a scary reality because $500,000 isn't going to last you for the rest of your life.
Right.
You know, but if you told me that I'd rather take $100,000 of monthly cash flow versus $1 million in a single month, because after 10 months, my $100,000 will caught that million, and then it will continue to grow.
Yep.
And then it allows me to be a little bit more risky. It allows me to go out and tackle potentially bigger opportunities because I know that my seed will replenish. Right? This is so important. So
Dude,
I love this, man.
I told you that at the Mindset Manor that, like, I think I did. One of my major goals in life is to have what I make while I'm asleep be more than I can possibly spend while I'm awake. Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't mention that. That's fire.
So
though.
that's like one of my biggest goals is like, I want to get to a point where I'm sleeping at night. I sleep really well at night when my baby's not crying. When I know that like I'm going to sleep and I'm going to make money while I'm sleeping.
Yep.
That's the beauty of cash flow. It's like assets that are working for you while you're sleeping. You don't got to do anything. You're literally sleeping. But I want to be able to sleep for 7, 8 hours, whatever it is. Calculate how much I made during that time. Be like, all right, let's see if I can spend that much while I'm awake. And then fail at doing it. How great of a feeling would that be? Right?
So I got a question for you, right? Like as you're putting the money out to work, what are you doing to vet where that money is going? Because not all loans, not all borrowers, not all investments are made equal. So it's like, do you have like a criteria of like, hey, these are the only places I like to put my money? Because last night I was having a conversation with someone she had put her money out, but unfortunately she had put it with the wrong operators.
Yeah.
And I mean, like she was sitting on a pretty healthy, very healthy, 6-figure nest egg for her time as a W-2 employee. And I don't want to say all of it, but a couple $1,000s has been.
Ouch.
Yeah.
What I do, man, is I only invest in things that I know and understand. You know what I mean? Like
I hope people are listening to that. Like I really like
that's the most important thing.
Yep.
Like perfect example is I got pitched an opportunity about some government contract and this, that, and the other. I have no freaking idea what it is. I could probably learn it and make an educated investment on it, but like I got to spend time doing that. Do I want to spend time trying to learn something else to invest in? No. So I just turned it down. And then he comes back. He's like, well, I've got more favorable terms. I'm like, that tells me right there that you can't raise the money. So now it's like, why is everyone else not doing it? You're giving me more favorable terms. I'm not doing it. I don't understand it. If I don't understand it, I'll probably lose money. So only in things I know and understand. So it's only I'll lend money to different investors where I understand what they're doing. I understand their model. I see what they're doing. If I was doing it, I would do it the same way. Conservative, safeguards in place, all that. And then I make sure I always have a lien position, preferably first lien, so that if they default, I can take the property, and a personal guarantee. So I lend to their LLC. If the LLC stops paying, I can take the property. But if the property is not worth as much as it went down as what I have lent in it, then I've got a personal guarantee. I can go after their personal belongings to make myself whole.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? So I put all those safeguards in place to protect myself as a lender. And yeah, main thing though, know and understand. I have to know and understand it.
You know, and you said something, and like I got to highlight this. You said that you're looking for the people who would do it the same way you would do it, right? Like I do the same thing. Like I like JVing with people. I like joint ventures because I just believe with people together we can go further. So I love partnering up with people. However, I like partnering up with the right people.
Right.
And so I look for the folks who get like as obsessive as we do on their particular thing. Right. Like if I'm partnering with a person that does like short-term rental, don't give me the guy that does short-term rental, mid-term rental, long-term rental. He also sells land. He's also doing a little bit of cryptocurrency. He's got some Forex in the back.
eBay store.
Yeah, like I don't want that dude.
Everything.
Because he's too spread thin. He's not an obsessive. And so he's going to miss the fine details. I want the person that's, hey, this is the only thing I do.
Yeah.
I have a criteria that's so tight that I might not do as many deals, but the deals I do are good deals.
Yeah.
I'm a strong operator.
Yeah.
And so it's like I just want people to know that too, like as they're looking at like, okay, great, like I'm listening to you guys. I want to invest. I want to put the money somewhere. One, become a person. And this is why I love Kiyosaki. His rich dad taught him this. Become like a business owner, become an expert in something, in a field, because it's going to allow you to spot other experts in the field.
Yes.
Right. Like that clicked so much to me where logically do I know that if I want to go and like, if I ever had to start another business again, like I would probably never start one from scratch. I would just go buy one because now I understand like the concept of business acquisitions.
Bro, we'll have some talks offline about buying businesses. I want to get into that hard.
Dude, like the cash flow on them, it's like, it blew my mind. I did not understand. I didn't even understand it was like a marketplace.
Yes.
And then it started like I had some friends, you know, again, changing the campfire you're around, the conversations that happen. I had one buddy that he's telling me he owns about 44 businesses. He's also a real estate guy, one of the largest buyers of property out in Georgia. And he's just like, yeah, man, I've been buying businesses since I was maybe like in my late 20s, early 20s. And he's like, these things, cash flow, he's like, I won't buy a business unless it's a minimal cash flow to me is $10,000 per month net profit as a non-owner operator. And I was like, bro, that's the least they'll make? Like,
I'm in the wrong business.
Legitimate. I was like, bro, my properties make me a couple $100 a month.
Like, I need to start looking at these businesses.
Yeah,
Dude,
you know,
we'll talk about that offline. But we're coming to the end. We've been just chopping it up.
Yeah,
this
man.
is like an hour and a half. Just where does time go? Right, fastest hour and a half ever. How can people get a hold of you?
The best way to connect with me is Instagram. Hit me up at Mindset Marlon. So it's all one word, Mindset Marlon, M-A-R-L-O-N, not L-I-N. So Marlon, like Finding Nemo's dad. So yeah, find me on Instagram. From there, my link tree connects everyone to everything I do. And I'm happy to connect with people. If y'all ever have a question about real estate, creative financing, mindset, whatever, shoot me a DM. I will not respond instantaneously because I am doing things, quite frankly. But I do make it a point to come back later on in the evening, usually within like a day or two, and just go through and respond to everybody just because I like people.
Yeah.
You know?
I can tell you're going to get a lot of people that are going to just follow you on your journey, man, because I love what you're doing. I love your mindset. I love your energy. And just love that we're kind of growing in this game together. Like the fact that you left your job October of 2019, the same month I left mine, it's crazy. I didn't even put that together before.
It's so wild. Yeah, man.
Dude, it's been a blast. Pleasure getting to know you over these last few years. Can't wait to see what you do. If you guys got value, just make sure you share this episode with everybody that you think can get value from it, which really should be everybody in your circle. And the whole thing is get around better people, get around higher level people. And if you can't do that, make everyone else around you higher level by sharing stuff like this. So I love you guys. Until the next time, peace.